Matter of Segura Mandir versus Kennard Williams Martin. Has been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
What's your first name?
Erica.
And your last name?
Mandir.
You're a mother, Ms. Segura, is that right? Now, Ms. Segura, you're really suing on behalf of your daughter because you claim that your daughter was assaulted by these two people who were being supervised by Mrs. Kennard.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Mrs. Kennard's daughter, and this is Mrs. Kennard's nephew. According to your complaint, you dropped your daughter off at a mall. She was meeting up with her friend, cousin Jennifer. Got a call about an hour later, crying, indicating that she had been assaulted. But you really don't know anything about this matter yourself. It's your daughter. So why don't you have a seat for a moment? Erica, on what date did you go to the mall?
June 11, 2004.
And it was just you and your cousin Jennifer who were planning to meet that day?
Yes.
Tell me what happened with Miss Kennard's daughter and nephew.
We had been in the store, and we went over to look at the shoe section. Brittany and Cornell were sitting down, and they looked at us and started laughing. They were talking about my makeup. Brittany said, "Wow, look at her makeup. She looks like a clown." And so I was like, I get that all the time, people talking about my makeup. And so we walked to go pay for our things at the counter, and the witness, the one that's sitting down.
This young lady?
Yes.
Right from the opening, this case might seem like a routine courtroom situation, but there's a lot more unfolding beneath the surface than just a simple dispute between teenagers. What makes this particularly interesting is how quickly the responsibility shifts away from just the individuals involved and starts to include the adults who were present during the incident. When minors are part of a conflict, the law doesn't just ask who did what. It asks who was supposed to prevent it. And that's where things get serious. Notice how the judge immediately starts organizing the narrative, identifying who is speaking, who is responsible, and who is actually bringing the claim. That's not random. It's strategic. Because before you can even understand what happened, you need to understand who holds legal responsibility in the situation. The mother here isn't just speaking emotionally. She's representing her daughter's legal claim, and that already frames the case in a very specific way. Now think about this for a moment. A normal day at the mall turns into a legal battle involving assault allegations. That doesn't happen instantly. It builds. Something triggered it, something escalated it, and something failed to stop it. And that's exactly what the judge is going to uncover step by step. So as you watch this unfold, don't just focus on the fight itself. Pay attention to how the story is being constructed, because in court, it's not just about what happened. It's about what can be proven, what makes sense, and what holds up under pressure.
She was up there, and they walked up to her and told her about me. And then she looked at me and started laughing. I was like, okay, I still didn't think anything of it. So I paid for my stuff, and we were walking out. And then all of a sudden, I hear the mother. She started laughing really loud. And I looked back, and she said, "What are you looking at?" And so I was like, why?
Make sure you tell me exactly what you said, because even if you said something disrespectful at the time, I want to hear the truth. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I said, "Why do you guys have to talk about me? We didn't do anything to you." And then she started getting really loud, just their hands up and everything. And then they started walking to us, and me and my cousin we walked back.
Walk back towards them.
Walked back towards the counter, got back into the store.
Why didn't you just keep going?
Because both times I didn't think anything of it, and there were so many people in the store, and I was like, why? We didn't do anything. Why are we being humiliated? So,
You're right.
So I was like, no, I have to say something.
So what'd you say?
I told him, I said, why are you talking about us? We didn't do anything to you.
What was wrong with her makeup that day?
I didn't say nothing about it. I didn't say anything about it.
What did you say?
No, because me and him was having a conversation.
What did you say?
Nothing.
What were you and Cornell having a conversation about?
A movie, Medea.
A movie, Medea?
Yes.
What was the movie Medea about? Even she can't keep her mouth straight. Look at her. She can't stop from smiling. Do you understand?
Yes.
Right?
No.
Why do you think all this problem started, young lady?
I don't know. Me and my cousin were just having a conversation about the movie, and I guess she thought we was talking about her.
And what did she say to you?
So she turned around and I guess she asked her cousin if is that a he, she, is that a girl or a boy? And Cornell, my cousin, turned around and said, "What happened?" She was like, "I wasn't talking to you." So me and him went back to our conversation, and I guess
And here it is, the moment where everything begins, even if it doesn't seem like much at first. Comment, a laugh, a reaction. That's all it takes to set off a chain of events that eventually leads to a courtroom. What's important to understand here is that situations like this rarely start with physical aggression. They start with perception. One person thinks it's a joke, the other feels targeted. And once someone feels disrespected, the entire dynamic shifts. Now it's no longer a casual interaction. It becomes personal. And in social environments, especially among teenagers, public embarrassment can feel like a direct challenge. That's when people feel the need to respond, to defend themselves, to say something back. And that response is what fuels escalation. From a legal perspective, this moment matters more than people realize. Because the court isn't just looking at who threw the first punch later, they're looking at what triggered the entire conflict in the first place. If this is seen as provocation, it can influence how the rest of the situation is interpreted. So the big question here is, was this harmless teasing that got taken the wrong way? Or was this the exact point where the line was crossed? Because once that line is crossed, everything that follows becomes harder to control.
As they walked to the counter, that's when my mom came over there. My mom walked over there and we walked over there.
Oh, walked over where?
To the counter. And as we was walking to the counter, they was leaving and they turned around and they mugged my mom. My mom asked them.
What do you mean they mugged your mom?
Like, gave her a crazy look.
Show me how they did that.
She was like, they just turned around and looked at her like this.
You mean like this? Is
Yeah.
that what you're doing? Yeah. So they turned around and gave your mom a look.
And my mom was like, do you guys have a problem? And she was like, well, yo, she's over there talking about it. My mom said, what she? This is my daughter and my nephew. So she said, what are you talking about? She was like, well, they over there talking about us and we ain't saying nothing to them. My mom's like...
So this young lady said, why are they talking about us? We didn't say anything to them. That's what she said to your mom. Is that right?
Yes.
What happened next?
So after she asked her, my mom was like, well, nobody was talking about you. They was talking to each other and they was talking to me. So where did that come in that they was talking about you? She was like, well, they was over there laughing and giggling and looking at me and laughing. And my mom said, what was they talking about then? She was like, I assume they was talking about my makeup. And my mom was like, well, what's wrong with it? There must be a problem with it if they was talking about you. And the girl was like, well, I don't know. And that's when she started getting physical and she started...
Now tell me how she got physical.
Well, she started cussing. She was like...
She started cursing.
Yeah.
The girl, she started cursing. What did she say?
Well, she was like, this effing over there talking about me and my cousin about our makeup. And my mom's like, what are you talking about? And she just...
This is one of the most important moments in the entire case, even though it might not seem dramatic on the surface. The judge isn't just asking for details. She's testing credibility. In a courtroom, truth isn't just about what you say, it's about how consistently you say it. When someone is asked to repeat exactly what they said, without softening it or changing it, that's when the real story starts to emerge. Because it's easy to tell a version of events that makes you look better. But it's much harder to maintain that version when you're being questioned directly. And that's what's happening here. The judge is signaling very clearly that honesty matters more than appearing innocent. In fact, admitting to saying something disrespectful can sometimes strengthen a person's credibility, because it shows they're not hiding anything. On the other hand, avoiding details or giving vague answers can raise red flags immediately. What the judge is really trying to determine is who escalated the situation and who had the chance to walk away but didn't. Because those choices reveal intent, and intent plays a huge role in how responsibility is assigned. So this moment isn't just about words, it's about trust. And in a case where multiple people are telling different versions of the same story, the person who appears most consistent and honest often has the strongest position.
Yeah, because my mom was like, well, do you talk to your mother with that kind of mouth? And the girl was like, no. She was like, well, if I was your mother, I would been talk to you about that mouth. And the girl was like, well, you're not my mother. And she called my mom a B. And that's when we walked up. My mom told us to stand back because there's no problem.
Go ahead.
So the girl, she was like, well, and that's when they walked towards us. And me and my cousin was standing next to my mom. The girl had walked towards us. And she was like, well, y'all was over there talking about me and my makeup. And we was like, no, we wasn't. And then the girl came up to my cousin, and the girl had pushed my cousin. She had given
just a second. Who pushed who?
The witness over there.
This young lady pushed somebody?
She pushed him. She gave him like a 2-finger little tap.
A two-finger little tap.
Like when you go like this, she did it
Oh,
twice.
okay. And then what happened after she gave him a two-finger little
She was
tap?
like, well, I guess you're going to hit a girl. And he was like, no, I'm not even tripping off of you. And she was like, whatever. And then that's when she had punched my cousin in the stomach. And then that's when she had rushed him. And the other girl, Erica, I guess she had jumped in. That's when I had jumped in and tried to pull one of them off. And then that's when the girl got up and swung at me. And that's when we all started to fight.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She said, I can say what I want to say. I said, if I was your mother, I would whoop you because you're disrespectful right now. She said, I ain't disrespectful.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Erica Mandair says Lavinia Kennard, Brittany Williams, and Cornell Martin owe for an assault at a mall. Erica says Brittany and Cornell were making fun of her makeup.
Up here. Did you punch him?
No.
Did you two-finger him?
No.
Did you put your hands on him at all?
I put my hand like this because I knew he was going to come at me, and I didn't even touch him.
Why was he going to come at you?
Because I remember he was in my face, and I was like, you're going to hit a girl, and he goes, I don't care what you are. And then he just pushed me, and I fell to the ground.
This right here is the turning point of the entire situation, and it's almost ironic how small it sounds. A two-finger tap doesn't sound like much. In everyday life, most people wouldn't even consider that serious. But in a legal context, this is huge. Because the moment physical contact is introduced, the situation shifts completely. Up until now, everything has been about words, reactions, and emotions building up. But once someone puts their hands on another person, even lightly, it can be interpreted as initiating physical confrontation. And that changes how everything that follows is viewed. Now the focus isn't just on who was rude or disrespectful. It's on who crossed the physical boundary first. And here's where perception becomes critical. One person might see that action as harmless, while the other sees it as aggressive. And in that split second, reactions become automatic. That's how fights start, not necessarily because someone planned to fight, but because the situation escalated beyond control in a matter of seconds. So now the court has to analyze this exact moment very carefully. Because sometimes the smallest action carries the biggest legal consequences.
Did you say that, Cornell?
No.
Well, what did you say?
She gave me the two-finger push, and I said, don't put your hands on me. And she said, oh, well, you a dude, you gonna put your hands on the female? I was like, no, I'm not gonna put my hand on the female. And then she pushed me back again, and then that's when she socked me in my stomach.
How did she do that?
She took her two fingers and pushed me back like this, and then she took her hand and then pushed me out of the way. And then at the time I was moving back, she socked me.
With her fist?
Yes.
Were you winded?
Yes.
Did you fall down?
No.
What happened next?
I stumbled. And then when I stumbled, the other girl rushed me into the clothes.
Where was Jennifer at the time that Erica rushed you into the clothes?
Fighting with Brittany.
Was Jennifer on the ground?
Yes.
How did Jennifer get on the ground?
Because they was fighting.
How did she get there is my question.
She got knocked to the ground.
By whom?
Brittany.
By Brittany.
Yes.
Where was your mother?
She wasn't paying attention at the time. She was paying attention, but she didn't notice the fight until after she tried to pull us off. But she couldn't break it up.
Stand up. When you came to get your daughter at the mall, did you take her for any treatment?
Yes. She was taken by ambulance to the local hospital.
Can I see the medical report? Any photographs taken of her face?
Yes, there is.
Can I see, please? Who punched you in the face?
It was Kennard and Brittany.
Why'd you punch her in the face? Why did you punch her in the face?
And punch her.
And just like that, everything falls apart into chaos. What started as a verbal disagreement has now turned into a full-blown physical altercation involving multiple people. And this is where things become incredibly difficult to untangle in a courtroom. Because once a fight involves several individuals, clarity disappears. Everyone is reacting, emotions are high, and events happen too quickly for anyone to process them clearly in real time. That means when it's all over, each person remembers a slightly different version of what happened. And here's the key point. Those differences don't always mean someone is lying. Sometimes people genuinely believe their version of events, even if it's incomplete or slightly distorted. That's why the court doesn't just look at what people say. It looks at how consistent their stories are over time. Who changes their version? Who contradicts themselves? Who stays calm and factual under pressure? These are the factors that help determine credibility. Because in chaotic situations like this, there's rarely perfect evidence. Instead, the case is built on testimony, and testimony relies on trust. So now the focus shifts from the fight itself to the reliability of each person's account. And that's where the outcome of the case will ultimately be decided.
In the face.
Who punched her in the face? Who punched her in the face?
I don't know. We was fighting, so somebody's gonna obviously. She got hit in the face as we was fighting.
Well, I'm asking you, who punched her in the face?
We don't know because we was all fighting at once, and it was a big old bunch.
Well, where are your photographs of your injuries?
I didn't have any.
I don't have injuries.
You want to say anything?
Yes, Your Honor.
First, I have a couple of questions for you. You take 3 children. These 3 children you took to the mall?
Yes.
Why aren't you properly supervising them?
Your Honor, they was properly supervised.
No, they weren't. They were properly supervised. They wouldn't have been involved in an assault.
The way the little girl saying it is not the way she was performing. The performance of these 2 young girls, I had these 2 sitting on the bench. I had my 11-year-old standing in line while I looked at a purse.
They were on their way out the store.
They was not, Your Honor. They lying.
Really? Where were they when this took place?
When they was at the cash register paying for their stuff. As I'm walking up to it, they turns around. This is the cash register. They turns around, both of them, and mad dogs me as the mother.
What's mad dog? What does that
That mean like they looking at you, staring you up and down, just, like,
Yes.
they're gonna beat you up. That's how the looks both of them gave me. So when I walk up, I look over my shoulder, I look around me. I'm like, what? You tell them MFs, the he, she's, quit talking about me. She's in my face. I'm at the register. I'm walking up now to this.
Right. Okay.
So I'm like, they talk about Jesus Christ. I mean, so what did they say about you? She couldn't tell me what they said about them. She was abusing me like I was in it. She cussing at me. She talking crap to me and disrespecting me. And I asked her, do your mother allow you to talk like that to an adult? She said, I can say what I want to say. I said, if I was your mother, I would whoop you because you're disrespectful right now. She said, I ain't disrespectful. Excuse my language. And she called me a B. And so that's when them 2 came up. And they said, I'll talk about my mother and my auntie. So I pushed them back. And next thing I know, the young girl over there, she's flinching at him. She's standing at his face like, what? She flinching. And then she took him and pushed her shoulders. And then she took her fist and she hit him.
This is the moment that changes everything. Up until now, the case has been centered around the actions of the teenagers, their words, their reactions, and their involvement in the fight. But now the spotlight shifts to the adult in the situation. An independent witness, someone with no personal involvement, claims that the adult responsible for supervision may have actually encouraged the fight. And if that's true, it completely reframes the case. Because this is no longer just about a conflict between minors, it becomes about a failure of responsibility at a higher level. Adults in these situations are expected to de-escalate, to maintain control, and to prevent exactly this kind of outcome. Simply being present isn't enough. Supervision requires action. And if an adult contributes to the escalation instead of stopping it, that's a serious issue. The judge is now looking beyond the fight itself and asking a much bigger question. Could this entire situation have been avoided? Because if the answer is yes, then responsibility doesn't just fall on the individuals who fought, it falls on the person who had the authority to prevent it. And that's why this moment is so critical. It shifts the focus from reaction to prevention, from conflict to accountability. And in the end, that's often what determines the final judgment.
He fell back into the clothes. By the time I'm over here to get these 2 breaking up, the other 2 start fighting. So when I get through breaking these, get ready to break these, he come around to get her off of the other one. They never stopped. They just kept going at it with him. So when I finally got them both apart, she had a purse laying there with money. I picked her purse and her money up and gave it to the lady at the register. She said she's going to call the police. I said, we're going to stand here till you call the police until they come.